Actually, within 18 months since this car came down here, shuffling it backwards and forwards, because I do move it quite a lot to stop the bearings from getting stuck in one place. We're coming up on a mile that it's done just backwards and forwards here, and it once went on the drive. Today, just trying to do a few jobs around the house, be a bit efficient, and one of the things we've got here is my old car. Now, story behind this is that for a great many years I was driving this old Volvo, and it's reached an age where, in fact, I'll show you the mileage on it. We've got 225,444. Well, when a petrol, it's the petrol version. When a car gets to that kind of mileage, you know, it's not a case of if it breaks down, but when. And thankfully, this old girl was actually pretty reliable right to the end, but it was quite clear that every time the MOT came round, it became a bit of a nail-biting episode. So I bought a new car about 18 months ago, brand new, first ever brand new car for me, Nissan Micra. We got a deal with a pre-registered one that was just really too good to be missed. And I've actually quite enjoyed the much better fuel economy that has offered, and the reliability, and just not having to worry about car repairs at the moment. But they offered me £100 trade-in for this, and it just really shows about the throwaway society that we live in, that a complete working, and at that point with MOT car, would have gone straight for scrap. They'd have just cubed this old girl, and that would have been that. And I thought, for £100 it's not worth it. I had space down the side of the house, so she drove herself in here, and she hasn't moved since. Particularly, I shuffle her backwards and forwards to make sure that the wheel bearings don't end up with little dimple marks where the ball bearings press in. Want to come for a ride? Did you enjoy it? Well, we'll go back then. We'll go home. There we are. We're home now. Are we nearly there yet? Hold on. Yeah, we're there now. And at one point I did move her onto the main drive, which is the furthest she'd driven in 12 months, to sit there whilst we were away on holiday for a week, so that it would be a car on the drive. But no, she just, I start her up every single month, and actually I've been a bit lax. It's been 2 months since I've started this car. So it's just sat here doing nothing. The battery's disconnected, and I do occasionally come out and pump the tyres up and shuffle it backwards and forwards by hand. But I'm going to try and start it up today. When she came down here, I did a full oil change, oil flush change, filter change. So she's not been anywhere in 18 months, but has completely clean oil in the sun. So let's have a look. Got her on charge. I didn't even bother trying to connect the battery, because the battery itself is pretty much screwed. When she came off the road, the battery was starting to be a bit lazy, and 18 months of doing very little has not been kind to a car battery. So I've got it on charge, and well, it's saying fully charged, but it's been on charge for 20 minutes, so that is definitely not the case. And just leave it for about an hour, and then I'll try and start her up. What I find is, when you crank her, if she doesn't fire fairly quickly, you have to put the thing back on charge. In fact, I'm just looking down here. What is going on here? It's amazing, isn't it? The things that fall apart without any regular use. So I think that's the air intake. So I don't know how that, it must have been knocked when the battery's been disconnected. But let's just check all that out actually. And looking down there, radiator hoses, the Jubilee clips go frightfully rusty, but I'm not seeing any signs of leakage. Let's have a look around the other side. The water on the top there is just what's dripped from the bonnet when I've opened it, but those Jubilee clips, rusty but still holding. Ooh, what's that weird noise? There's no signs of leaks. Ooh, dirty, dirty. So let's just check. 18 months. I did do a coolant change as well. It's down, but it wasn't full when I changed the coolant, so that's alright. Look for other little leaks. I keep looking on the floor underneath, and there's never any signs of fluids dripping. But I'm going to leave that on charge and see if I can get the old girl to fire up. Because one of the things about cars is when you leave them sat around, it really isn't good for them. You need to run an engine periodically just to swill the oil around. Otherwise, what you tend to find happens is that gravity slowly takes all of that oil back down into the sump, and when you come to start it, you're just grinding metal, and that's not going to do your bearings much good. It's a lot of stress to put through even a new engine. So periodically starting it up, run it till it's hot, because the other thing you don't want is moisture in your exhaust system. Because what will happen there is you've got all sorts of nasty chemicals being made in the engine when the engine's cold, and that condenses out in your exhaust system. And if you don't run it until the whole exhaust system right to the tailpipe is actually warm enough to evaporate all that off, it'll just sit there and it will rot holes through your exhaust, which you don't want. And also it's probably good for the engine to get nice and warm, drive any moisture out, and just generally circulate things around so that seals on your camshaft, crankshaft, that kind of thing, they get a bit of lubrication so they don't start to crack and perish. And also get the water system circulating around. And what I also do as well, and it's something that a lot of people probably overlook if they're doing this, leaving a vehicle for a long time off the road, is pump your brakes, get a bit of pressure through that system, move the brake fluid about, and move the calipers, just to try and stop them from seizing up. Because what you don't want is it sits for several years, and when you come to put it back on the road, everything is just seized up, and you end up, the car becomes effectively written off, because there's so much stuff that you need to replace. So I'm going to leave this on charge and see where we get to. The battery charger gets quite noisy when it's been on charge for a bit, but you know, let's just see how it goes, so we'll get some kind of idea of whether I'm actually going to be able to start this or not. So I've got my 10mm spanner, and that's just for tightening up the bolts when I put the terminal on. And then, of course, obviously, the keys for the thing. Let's find somewhere to put you so you can watch what we're doing. Right. I have to move quite quickly because the battery is notorious for losing charge. So we've got all of that out the way. And let's get that on there. We need to tighten this up just to give it a chance to have a reasonable connection. And then, that didn't sound good. I just unlocked the car and it was sluggish as anything. So, and the reason for that is because it was locked with central locking back when it was taken back down here just after Christmas. I've got lights on the dashboard. 5 gallons just over of fuel. Not very promising, is it? Do this a few times, might just drain the battery a little bit. Sometimes you drain it somewhat and then recharge it and drain it and recharge it. Stands a little bit more of a chance. Okay, I'm going to put the battery back on charge. I have to disconnect it from the car to do that because I don't want to scramble any of the electronics in this thing. But we'll give it another hour and see if that's improved in any way when we come to start it again. Well, it's been on charge for about another 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm going to give it another go. And with any luck, this will just give us some kind of an idea of whether this battery is ever going to hold enough charge to start this. Not sure it will. Got the keys. Let's give it a go. Now, I've heard a little trick that apparently if you turn the side lights on and give it a minute, you can revive a battery a little bit. I don't think it's going to work with this, but side lights are on. Give it a bit of a go and then see if it'll start. If not, I don't really have the time now. I've got to go out. So I might pick up with this either later on today or tomorrow. But that's not going to start. All I'm going to do is flood the engine with petrol. So it's just a case of charge again. But it did go for a little bit longer that time. Maybe it will revive, but it's going to take a lot of charging, trying. Once the engine's running, the power's all coming from the alternator, so it should be fine. One other potential issue is that the petrol in the tank on this has been in it for 18 months. And petrol tends to lose the octane, just evaporates away, disappears through the fuel tank breather pipe. So what was once 4-star petrol, well, it's unleaded, but it becomes the equivalent of 3-star, then 2-star, then 1-star. So some engines will run quite happily on lower grade fuels. Performance engines like this one tend not to. But, you know, when I started it up at the beginning of January, once it did start, it ran just fine. So let's just give it one more go. No, not happening. And well, my father has brought round one of these. It's like basically it's like jump starting a car without needing another car. So connected that up, and one of the little tips that I'll give you just to stop it from arcing is always connect the live first and then the neutral. And when you're disconnecting it, disconnect the neutral first, then the live. And that just eliminates any sparking that you might get from the terminals. But one thing I did notice is that, well, a couple of months of inactivity has caused the throttle to, well, you can see there, just jam. So that's not going to be a good thing. So I'm going to have to try and fill that in, and I've got some just multi-purpose maintenance spray, loosens and lubricates. So I'm going to make sure that this is just a little bit lubricated. I think that's all right. So there's something down there as well. I can see that this cable keeps jumping when I enact this by hand. So let's get it started, see what happens. Hopefully now what we're going to see is that there's enough power to start it. We get all the lights on the dashboard. We're neutral. And there she goes. 2 months, that is. 2 months of doing nothing. And that's 18 months old petrol in the tank. Just fires just like that. And there you are, perfect idling. Let's go and check the exhaust. make sure we're not got any smoke, and a bit of water vapour, but that's pretty good actually for an old car with that kind of mileage and with 2 months. Right, I'm going to see if I can disconnect that battery charger thing and leave it running. Oh, that's starting to go a bit weird, isn't it? Right, let's get that done. Put off the power, let's go. Perfect. Right, neutral off first, then live. Excellent. Job done. There you go. Old Volvo 850. Right, I've left it running on idle now for a few minutes, and this is one of the tests that I just want to put it through. It's getting warm now, but certainly with an old engine you can tell a lot about how worn it is by leaving it to idle for a bit and then flipping the throttle. And what you tend to find there is that things like the valve stem oil seals have worn. Then you get a buildup of oil in the cylinder, which it then blows through and burns out when you rev the throttle. And normally when you're running with revs, it doesn't really do that. Now I know that this engine, on the mileage that it's at, does use a bit of oil. Not like huge amounts. Certainly doesn't lay a smoke screen on the road, or it didn't last time it was on the road. But I'm just going to see just how worn those valve stem oil seals and possibly things like the rings actually are. So I'm going to keep an eye back there. I'm just going to put my foot in. Oh God. Yeah. Ignore those trainers. They're my old comfy as hell trainers that I wear only in the back garden. Right. Let's give it a rev. Now, if your car does do that, just let the revs diminish, and then let's go. When you see on the second blip, there's nothing, and certainly for an MOT pass, that first puff of blue smoke isn't necessarily a fail, because if it doesn't smoke on the second blip, then you're good. So it should get through on the emissions with that, as long as things like carbon monoxide, and that's fine. And we haven't got any warning lights on the dashboard. Certainly for a car this age, the first you know of any kind of issues with that, you get what's referred to as the lambda light come on. It's just the Greek letter lambda, and it doesn't tell you an awful lot, but you can use a code reader to give you an idea of what exactly is going on. I've only ever had that light come on once to stay on, and it turned out after a lot of hassle, because getting a code reader for a car this age, well, I ended up having to make one myself from components from Maplin, and it just outputs as flash codes through an LED, and I finally tracked it down to camshaft position sensor, and then it passed okay, and that was the last MOT that it was put through. So it's never actually been taken off the road because it failed an MOT, just simply because I bought another car and at the time didn't need to have the expense of running two cars that only I could drive. So whilst I've been talking, we've left it running, and let's have a look. Temperatures come up. Now this is what you need to really be doing, is what I always do, is make sure it goes up until it's at the normal operating temperature, making sure that it doesn't actually overheat. Shouldn't overheat, but obviously if it does, it signifies there's some kind of a problem going on in there. But we'll probably ought to check all of the lights. Now that is interesting. No, there are. See, I forget, you don't get a telltale for when your headlights are on. Let's just check left, right, fog lights, Yeah, it seems to work. The important bit. I mean, as long as your accelerator and your horn work, car's good to go. Anyway, I hope this has been informative to you. And don't forget to like this video, share it too, and subscribe to the channel, and you'll be first to know about new videos as and when they come up. And also worth mentioning that you can also follow me on Twitter, and there's also a Facebook page there as well, so you can keep up to date on what's going on in the world of Jenny. Anyway, take very good care of yourself, and until next time, bye for now.